Hi and welcome. I'm Mina, and today I'm going to share with you the essence of Warrior 1 and Warrior 2. This is the first part in a series that I call the Essence of Asana, and we're going to go through some basic alignment while looking at what is at the core of each pose energetically, and also look at how we can modify these postures to make it suit your own body. This is Nanairo Yoga, and if you like these kinds of more therapeutic yoga tutorials and classes, hit like and subscribe. And we're going to get right into it. So often people ask, how do I actually put the feet in Warrior 1 and Warrior 2, and where did the hips go? And we want to start somewhere comfortable so we can start to expand these postures. Warrior 1 and Warrior 2, I think, are all about grounding. And so that's where we want to focus on first. So in Warrior 1, the sense is that everything is going forward towards the top of the mat. So I always like to describe it in terms of bow and arrow. And Warrior 1 would be the arrow, while Warrior 2 is the bow itself with which you shoot the arrow. So we're going to start in a high lunge. We'll keep it quite compact to begin with. So first thing that might come up is balance. You're also always welcome to get a chair to feel that you are stable and that there's nothing there that can move you side to side. And also you don't have to stand in one line. You can keep the feet hip width distance apart so you have a wider base. Good. And let's keep the back heel high to begin with. Good. And just feel that the hips are moving forward, chest or the shoulders are moving forward, the gaze is moving forward. And let's bring in the arms right away. The arms can go in front. So we still want to sense that we're moving forward, out in front, out in a V shape, maybe shoulder width, or maybe even together if you have that kind of space in your shoulders and your neck is okay with that. Good. Now from here, this might be your Warrior 1. This is a high lunge. The stance is quite short, but you feel length in your lower back. There's no crunching. Good. If you're okay here, you can also release your heel down towards the floor. And the heel gets released in a way that it helps you to keep your hips more or less moving forward. If we open up the back foot too much, our hips are going to move out towards the side. So that's why the toes are moving in slightly, and you can really reach down through the back heel. Now, again, my stance is still really short, and that's because if we make our lunge really, really long, then releasing the heel is going to be really, really hard for a lot of people because of the length in the calves, the openness in the hips. So we'll start with our stance really small. In that way, most people can release their heel down towards the floor and still keep the sense that everything's moving forward, back to front. We're reaching into the heel through the back, and we're pushing forward. Good. And the arms can go along shoulders height, together, maybe. Good. Let's do the other side first. So I'm going to flip around so you might see more of my back. Again, my feet, I'm going to start in the hip width Tadasana. And this time I'm going to step my right foot back. So left foot is forward. I'm going to keep it a small high lunge first to make sure, okay, my hips are moving forward, shoulders moving forward, arms either V, shoulder height. Good. And then I'm going to see from here, you can also bring your hands onto your hips. See if you can release your heel down towards the floor. Good. Nice. And it might be that your hip pulls back a little bit, no problem. Still keeping the sense you're pushing off your back foot, hips moving forward, arms reaching up so that you feel like an arrow. You're long and tall, and you could shoot yourself off of the ground to move forward diagonally upwards. Good. Let's release that. Let's try the first side again. So this time I'm going to step a little bit longer. Again, starting with the feet hip width distance apart. Going to step the left foot back. This time my stance is a little bit longer. I have my heel up for a moment. Good. And then I'm going to release my heel back down towards the ground. Nice. And this time, because my stance is much longer, it's going to be harder to bend the front knee. There's nothing wrong with the knee going over the ankle if your knee doesn't hurt. It's going to strengthen your knee. However, in yoga, we want to stack bone on top of bone. If my shin bone is vertical, then that's going to be more conducive to bringing down the weight down into the floor more easily or effortlessly. Good. Still checking if my hips are moving forward, shoulders moving forward, arms moving forward. Good. And then you might start to feel a lengthening the back of the calf. That's not a problem. Keep on reaching through the back heel. And this is where your heel might start to collapse. You can press out through the outer edge. Good. Reaching both arms up for a moment. Keep on breathing and then release. Let's try the other side as well. I'm just simply going to wiggle the toes around so that my left foot is reaching back. My right foot is towards the back. Again, my feet are a little bit wider. And lifting the back heel for a moment so that I can really feel the hips moving forward, shoulders, everything is streamlined. And then maybe I can release the back heel down. Good. Still checking if my hips are facing forward, maybe starting to bend into front knee a little bit deeper. Good. And then feeling this arrow kind of shape that's long and grounded, and you're catapulting yourself from your back foot out through the fingertips. Great. And then release. And then let's check it out. So that was the basis of Warrior 1. And like I said, Warrior 2 feels more like the bow that you're shooting the arrow with. So I'm going to start. Let's start with kind of a tree prep. So you can stand on your left foot, lift the right knee. If you have balance issues, always grab it. Wall or a chair. And then finding your range of motion here from your hip socket. Good. And at the maximum range of motion, that's where I want to release my foot. Good. And this is kind of the foot alignment that I will have. Right foot reaching out, and the left toes can point in slightly. Good. And a lot of people say, move the hips completely out to the side so they're square with the wider edge of the mat, but then my knee tends to collapse. Good. So for me, like I said, it feels more like the bow. So instead of backwards and forwards, now I feel more side to side. So this knee wants to reach forward and this left foot wants to press into the floor, and with it pulls the left hip slightly back. And so it's almost like I'm pushing sideways. Good. And wherever the hip lines up or ends up, that's where it's going to be. So I'm not excessively trying to square off the hip to the front, but I'm trying to push into the back foot. My right knee opens up, and wherever the hip ends up, that's where it's going to be. And the upper body still has the sense of length sideways from left to right. Good. And then you can release the hands, and the gaze goes beyond the right fingertips. Good. And let's switch this from side to side. So again, I'm going to step into my right foot, lift the left knee, and then open it out to the side from the hip socket. You can inhale center, exhale open to the side. And wherever my knee ends up, that's the outline or the footprint of my stance. I'm going to realign myself a little bit on the mat. Good. But my right foot is not moving out to the side. It's moving slightly in. And again, I don't have a huge stance yet. And I feel that I'm pushing sideways. My left knee wants to go forward, and the back foot presses into the floor powerfully. Good. And I want to create this width through side to side. And then I can release my fingers and gaze beyond my left fingertips. And with this sensation of side to side, wherever my hip ends up, it's going to be where it's at. I also notice on the left side, it looks very, very different than on the right side. And that's going to be the same for everyone. None of us are symmetrical. Good. And then you can release. And let's just wiggle the feet. And this time we can widen the stance a little bit if you're ready. So I'm going to make my stance a little bit wider. Back foot still turning in. Good. And some people say front heel in line with back heel. Some people like to cross over a little bit. You can play around with it. Good. Still same sense that you want to push sideways. Front knee wants to go forward. Back foot wants to press into the floor. There's almost a tug of war between your own limbs going side to side. Good. But the spine stays upright and easy going. It's like a pendulum from the crown of the head through the tailbone. It's just aligned. Good. And then the arms reach out softly. And the gaze goes beyond your right fingertips. Good. Let's release and simply wiggle around. Left toes reaching back. And again, feeling this push side to side. Front knee wants to move forward. Back foot wants to reach further into the floor like you're digging it into the ground. And again, the spine like a pendulum. We're not arched forward. We're not leaning back. And this will come over time. Keeping the spine easy going. You can also bounce a few times. Good. And the arms just float up because everything's aligned. You don't have to move or torque the shoulders because the shoulder girdle is aligned. So you just need to spread open. Gaze goes beyond the left fingertips. Wonderful. Good. And then let's release. Good. So let's do the same thing with the chair. So you can always hold on to the chair to find your balance. Warrior 1, Warrior 2. That's one way of using the chair. You can actually sit on it. And by actually using the chair, we might make it even clearer the essences of these different two poses, which can be kind of confused and mixed up sometimes. Good. So I'm going to start with Warrior 1. I'm going to put this block on the ground to put my knee on. So I'm going to sit down in a way that I'm actually sitting sideways. I'm holding on to the back of the chair so I don't go anywhere. My right sit bone stays on the chair. And I'm going to release my left knee onto the block. So your block height might be different according to chair height, the length of your bones, etc. Good. And again, we're back to Warrior 1, or more of a high lunge state, where hips, shoulders, everything wants to move forward and up. And here I can either keep on holding on with the right hand to the chair and the left arm can reach up, or you can release both arms up towards the sky. Same sense that you're pressing into your left toes, right foot grounded, and I'm growing out of there. And I'm sense that I'm reaching, catapulting this arrow into the sky diagonally. Good. And then let's release and let's swivel to move to the other side. I'm going to place my block a little bit further back so my right knee this time has room to come onto the block. Hips align, right toes pressing into the floor. So there's barely any weight on my front knee. Hips moving forward, shoulders moving forward, and the arms grow out of the ground to gain more length. Hands can always be shoulder width, more in a V, or they can also go forward. Still the same sense that you're reaching forward. Nice. Let's take one more breath. Wonderful. Good. And then a Warrior 2 on a chair is a little bit tricky, I find. Warrior 2. So this time I'm going to open into like a goddess position. So we want this feeling that we're the bow. We want to create space side to side. right? And we want the hips to open. And I'm going to keep my right leg where it is. I'm going to extend my left leg out. Good. If your ankle is not as flexible, no problem. If it's a little bit floating, no problem. Good. And this time I'm going to reach my arms out to the side. And gaze beyond my right fingertips. So since we're sitting and the hips can stay aligned no matter what our legs are doing, I would keep it this way. There are millions of ways of doing Warrior Two on the chair, but this, I feel, creates the sense of the legs moving outward. You can wander or walk them into the same line as you go. You might even feel a little bit of a stretch here, but starting where you feel comfortable, where you feel that you can press into the feet, might even come a little bit further forward. Make sure you don't fall off the chair, but still a sense that there's some weight in the feet and you're spreading the mat apart. You're spreading the space around you side to side, releasing the fingers and then gazing beyond your right fingertips. Good. And let's do the other side as well. So leaning back to safely swivel the feet around. Let's actually come into Goddess again. So just seeing what your natural range of motion is. Maybe your range of motion is here. No problem. Keeping the left foot where it is. And then extending the right leg out. Good. So that you have one long leg and one bent leg. Good. Spine upright, feeling your sits bones in this case. Pressing the feet into the floor and the arms float, and it's just your head that gently nods over to the side. And maybe your shoulders, your arms don't come up this high, no problem keeping them low or lower, but still feeling that you're spreading the space side to side, creating space around you horizontally as opposed to vertically. So that's the word I was looking for. Warrior 2 feels more horizontal, while Warrior 1 feels more vertical. Good. So I hope you've enjoyed this little session. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments section. And I hope to bring you more of these Essence of Asana videos. Thanks so much for joining me.